otherwise we can only see your hat.
I know.
So we are at Limitless Church today, aren't we, Maddie? Can you say hi to everybody?
Hi.
Hi. So we kind of had a last minute change of events. So we were planning on going live at home, but they're putting the internet and the phone in today at church finally. Yay! So we had to go live here to keep with our time frames, didn't we, Maddie?
Yeah.
So is that better? I think you maybe should put that up in your lap, and then maybe you can like look up more.
It's good.
Yeah, let's do that. And then you can kind of sit back. Yeah, just hang out.
There we
That's
go.
way better. We're just going to hang out with you. So welcome to Maddie and Mom. And look at her cute cowboy hat. Come on, show that off, Maddie.
Why?
It's so cute. So she's wanted a cowboy hat forever, but she kind of found the perfect one that had these like
I just looked.
turquoise things on it. Anyway, so it's like, take me home, country roads, to the place I belong, back to Sarnia, Limitless Church, take me home, country roads. Anyway, so welcome. And today's Maddie's day off, right? You gotta look at the camera, Maddie. You gotta say hi to the people. Lori. Oh, because she's gonna tag people in here. Because that's what Maddie likes to do. So anybody that doesn't know, we planted a church here with Real Talk Kim in Sarnia, Ontario, Canada. And our services are at 10:30 a.m. on Sunday, 6:30 p.m. on Sunday night. And we would love to have you join us. We would like to get things started up this summer, that in the fall we can jump in both feet. And where are we going next week, Madison?
Atlanta?
We're going, and what are we going to Atlanta for?
Kim?
Pastor Kim's conference, aren't we? Yeah. So she's just tagging people in here because that is what she does. And so we are going to the conference next week, and we are downtown Atlanta at Coley Hotel, which is totally exciting. And her aunt, my sister Joanne, will be with us. So we're hoping that we can do some lives there and just kind of be spontaneous and, you know, share some moments with you guys about what's happening. And I'm hoping to go live with Melissa Diaz. Did you tag Melissa Diaz?
I'm
planning on going live with Melissa and who else? You know, I don't know who else. But anyway, that is on our plan. So today, we had a topic that what we're going to talk about, Maddie?
Labels and stuff.
Labels and stuff. Miracle on the Move. Why Madison is already a walking testimony. We're talking about you, kiddo.
I know.
We're talking about you, kiddo. So there's lots of things that are happening right now, and I got to give it to Maddie with all the change of, you know, routine and things that are pending and coming to the church and like last minute stuff like this. That, you know, last minute stuff is always hard for somebody like her. But she's rolling with it, and she is doing amazing. So we just wanted to have some points here to go over with you and just share with you today. And, you know, brag on Jesus, tell you a little bit about our story. And Madison's going to look up at the camera soon.
Hey.
Anyway, that's okay. We got some people, and, you know, people always watch the replay. People are always so kind to send us messages. So thank you for watching the replay. Thank you for joining us. We just have to go live with what works for our schedule and our day, right, Maddie? And Thursday is Maddie's day off. And last week, Maddie was at respite, so we didn't go live. So we wanted to make sure we didn't miss it today. So here we are at Limitless Church in the office, eh, Maddie?
Yeah.
And we're just rolling with it. So we're just on the couch here, hanging out, and we're going to do a Maddie and Mom live. So here we are, opening up. And you know what? I just want to say that Madison is doing amazing. And for the people that said that she might never live independently, I'm just going to kind of refer to my notes here because we kind of were a little bit lost getting ready this morning with all the kerfuffles. But they didn't know that the God we serve, right? Madison isn't just surviving, she is thriving. Right, Maddie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel a lot different than you did like 10 years ago?
Yes.
Yes. And today we're sharing how her miracle is still unfolding. And one brave step at a time, right? So I say, it is going to be a glorious unfolding. Just you wait and see, and you will be amazed. That's Madison's theme song. Because the story is so far from
I don't even have a theme song.
I'm just kidding you. Okay, so that is what we're talking about. But you got to look up, Maddie, because otherwise we're just seeing the beak of that hat. And you're not going to be able to wear any more cowboy hats, especially in the office at the church. Because this couch is kind of low to the floor, isn't it?
I had to look down at that.
Well, then just kind of hold it up a little bit, maybe. You're a multitasker. You can do it. So, what's our first point, Maddie?
What doctors and specialists said.
Okay, so long time ago. So Maddie was 4 years old when she joined JK. Do you remember that?
Boy.
Going to JK? But Madison was so smart that when she went to school, she knew how to read and write. She knew how to read and write her name.
Taught other people.
Yeah, so because of that reason, gotta look at the camera.
Hey!
But don't need to look at that now. Because of that reason, we put her in French immersion because she was so smart. She only really was interested in letters and numbers and all that kind of stuff. So it was intriguing to her, and she knew how to read already by the time she was 4.
Somehow,
because that was just a gift God given you, right? So that being said, we put her in French immersion thinking, that she would excel and things were going to be amazing.
Great.
And she was going to be a doctor and all of these wonderful, wonderful things that parents think when their kids are so young, that they're going to be the next Einstein or they're going to be the next Elon Musk or whatever it is, right?
Musk.
So Madison started...
Frank, who knows?
Yeah. So Madison started public school in French immersion. And I was so excited for her. I was like, this is awesome. This is what she needs. She's going to be stretched, and if we hear any noise,
I was going to say, don't mind the noise in the background. Someone's working here.
Yeah, they're installing the internet and the phones that we need to do live.
So there might be extra noise.
So anyway, that being said, she started junior kindergarten, and I was so excited, right? And Madison, when we adopted her, I did not know that she was doing so much work. And I just kept parenting at 110% and thinking, okay, God, you have to help me here because maybe I'm just a wimp. Maybe it's because I'm older. Maybe it's a lot of these things, but I didn't realize because I had no other children to compare it to, how much work Madison really was. Well, the first day of school, when I went to pick her up, and believe it or not, can you imagine Madison doing this? I chased her around the parking lot for 45 minutes. 45 minutes around the parking lot at the school, and I'm thinking, dear Jesus, help me. How am I going to get her into the car? And all the buses were gone. All the parking lot had unloaded, and I'm chasing her around. She's in the schoolyard, and she sees this red Mustang. And she crawls up on top of it, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
Did I actually?
Yes. And I thought, good morning, Melissa Diaz. She's the girl I said I was going live with in Atlanta. There she is, Melissa. So Melissa should drop her iPod.
Your podcast.
Oh my goodness gracious, iPod.
I
am out to lunch. See, we were in such a hurry of a shuffle this morning. I didn't get all my regular stuff done. You gotta look up cameraman.
I am.
So here I am. Madison's up in the red convertible and Mustang, and I'm like, oh my goodness, please don't let the owner show up until I get this situation under control. So the only reason I got her off is because I promised that, you know what, Madison, when you're old enough and when you go to med school, I'm going to buy you your own red convertible. So she thought that was a great idea. She jumped off and I scooped her up and got her in the car. Thank you, Jesus. So that being said, we started down this road.
I still like the color red for some reason.
Yes, she does. So we started down this road. That was kind of started down the road in the path of different things happening. Because once you get in the school system and realize, oh my goodness, my kid is not perfect. She's not interacting with people. The teacher's noticing all these things. Because as a mom and
I was
at home,
quote unquote the social outcast because I didn't.
Madison didn't like to socialize with anybody. And when she was in JK, she thought everybody was not smart. She thought she come home and she said they're stupid. They don't even know how to write their name. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we can't say that, right? Hey, Chris, thanks for joining us. Hey, Angela, thanks for joining us. Good morning, good morning, good morning. From Canada. So anyway, so here we are. I'm thinking, I was so embarrassed. I'm like, Madison, you can't say that about people. But she was so smart. She couldn't put up with, in her mind, it was like, no, like you shouldn't even be here. You can't even write your name. You shouldn't even be in school. School is to learn. So I think probably she picked up on the French language so fast. I think you were probably reading by about a month into it. And it was hilarious that the teacher told me the one day the grade 5 students were coming down.
So they're a lot older than me.
That's right.
This JK kid.
Yes, that's 4 years old. So the grade 5s come down to read to the JKs, and Madison was correcting the grade 5.
I probably thought they were stupid, and they were older than me.
Well, she was correcting the grade 5 on, you know, the words that they were saying wrong. So that being said, all of that initiated and spurred us on to start the journey of going to different doctors. There was different diagnosis that rolled in. I think Tourette's was one of the first diagnoses.
I think autism was when I was 5.
No, the autism didn't come later because they didn't want to like label you under the autism spectrum as Asperger's.
I was gonna say, isn't that when I was 5?
There was the Tourette's, the OCD,
I don't even know when that
the
came
ADHD,
out.
the ODD, all these names, oppositional defiance disorder. There's all these names and labels, right? Labels, like Tom wrote a book on labels, and Madison's like, yes, that's Madison's favorite topic is labels, right? Because at a young age, she got labeled. She got labeled from, you know, all these doctors, you know, the diagnosis they give you on paper. So you got to look up.
Yes, I know.
And you know what? It was a really hard journey because, you know, Madison from a young age felt like, you know,
I was a weird kid.
You were the weird kid, and there were certain things that weren't attainable. You know, they pretty much were like, you know, you're not going to live on your own. You're not going to be able to go away to school. You know, you're going to be limited, you know.
So I had to do the Fortress of Solitude.
Okay, you want to talk about it?
What?
Look in the mirror. I mean, look in the camera.
The Fortress of Solitude is somewhere where you go by yourself and you're okay with being by yourself, because every single day I was in that Fortress of Solitude because I like being by myself, and those kids were on the outside of that fortress, like, because growing up I always liked being by myself, and you get used to it.
All by myself. I don't mind being all by myself. My name is Maddie. Right? And that was just you. That was your world, right?
Yeah.
You liked that. You were comfortable with it. You didn't need the approval of others. You didn't really like to interact with others. That's right. And you still do, right? And she didn't want to interact with others. But you know what? When you're in the school system and, you know what? Well, no, it's just you're labeled different. And, you know, that it makes it harder for everybody because they really don't know what to do with that, right? So, but...
Well, talk about the one with Dr. Duncan.
Yeah, that was something cool. So Madison met a doctor, and
because we're talking about doctors here.
Right. Hello, Lorna.
Hello.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us. So Madison had met a doctor, Dr. Duncan McKinley, and he was actually diagnosed with Tourette's. And when Madison had, you know, in her younger years, her Tourette's really bothered her, and she described it to the doctor like her blood was shaking, and the doctor thought...
I was 4 or 5 years old.
Right. And the doctor thought that was an amazing analogy, because he's like, yes, that's probably exactly what that does feel like to her, right? So in saying that, she had connected with this Dr. Duncan, and he was really helping her plow through some things, you know, what that label looked like. Because he had Tourette's really bad. He had gone to school, he was a doctor, and he had really bad tics. And his tics, you know, he would move his mouth and he would say different things. But it was encouraging to us because we saw that he met his goals. He'd gone to university, he was a doctor now, he was helping other children with the problem that he had growing up and that label. And he offered to actually come to Madison's school and do an assembly, didn't he?
Yeah.
And that was a real breaking point for Madison because, you know, being labeled was really hard. But, you know what? Here she was being labeled, but they were bringing this cool doctor in to talk to the whole school about what Tourette's...
JK to grade 8. I was talking about grade 4.
Yeah, JK to grade 8. And it was
Like, I wasn't very old.
It was a whole school assembly, and it was awesome because they got the perspective from the doctor that was an adult, obviously now, and talking about what his life was like with Tourette's and
what
going
did he
through
say?
the school.
Like, if you don't want me to say it's about you or something.
I actually can't remember. Hello, Peggy. Welcome.
Because he said to do some sort of signal at the end of it if I wanted to be the one.
Oh yeah, he asked Madison like if because he was there
I was
talking.
scared.
He was talking generalized to the whole gymnasium.
Like the whole branch of
all the grades, and he was just talking generalized about labels and about OCD and his story.
Maybe
so he never, and he talked about, oh, we love you, both. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you, that's so sweet.
Okay, keep going.
So about the labels, so he said, Madison, you don't need to expose yourself. You don't need to say, I'm the one
if you don't want to.
Yeah, you don't need to if you don't want to. You don't have to say, I'm the one with OCD. But he said, I'll give you an opportunity at the end if you want to say, yes, I'm that person. And
he'll say it.
He'll expose it to everyone and share that. Then he said, just let me know. So he went through the whole scenario, what life was like living with Tourette's. And, Madison was intrigued because everyone was so interested. Like the whole auditorium was, they were listening.
And this is probably like 300, 400 kids.
Yeah, they were listening, they were engaged, and they were curious because you know what? Sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And like we say, like knowledge is powerful. When we know more, we can do better, right? So sometimes
once you have that understanding, it's easier
so much easier. So with that understanding, it was like Madison saw people were really intrigued. They were really curious. This was really cool to find out about something. Because you know what? Unless you meet somebody with a disability of some kind, or unless you know somebody with Tourette's,
yes,
right? Knowledge breaks barriers. Hallelujah. That is right. Phyllis and Gord. So, you know what? We don't know what we don't know. So there he was exposing all of this to the whole gymnasium full of kids, and they were all intrigued, and they were all interested.
All their
and they were
antennas went like,
yes, and they were all kind and compassionate when he was asking questions, when there was question and answer times, right?
Like they asked
Madison's face was just, and I was actually at the assembly too, as backup moral support, because we didn't really know how it was going to go.
Just in case people were crazy.
Yeah, so at the end, he ended up helping, speaking out about it.
It does.
Yes, it's so true.
That should be going through
because we only know what we know, right?
Anyway.
So at the end, the doctor looked at Madison and said, they had a sign, and Madison ended up giving him the okay to say, yeah, it's okay. You can expose people. You can tell people that Madison.
But I was the one that.
Madison is the one that
shocks me to this day, actually.
Right. So that was a brave moment in Madison's life that she stepped forward as like, I'm okay if you tell people that I'm the one with Tourette's.
And if they don't like it, too bad, so sad.
Well, no. So what we found was there was a real turning point with her peers. And it helped them understand what happens and how Madison's brain processes things and what she goes through on a daily basis, right? And what that feels and what anxiety might, happen inside of her and what triggers her, right? And people had a lot more compassion and understanding for her. So he actually asked Madison to come up to the front of the gymnasium and they talked about it, they shared questions, and you know what? It was like from that moment on, Madison was kind of like the cool kid for a while.
Yeah, not the weird kid, but the cool kid.
The cool kid. And what I found was, although people might not have been close friends with Madison, there was a lot of kids that
became closer.
Peer group that had a soft spot in their heart for Madison because they understood
People
her
actually
more.
told me that too, like.
And even somebody I ran into, a mom actually not too long ago, said my daughter has such a soft spot for Madison, and her daughter is now, I think, a nurse or a lab tech or something.
Oh yeah, she's I think a year older than me.
But you know what? She said she has such a soft spot for Madison. So there was these people that kind of looked out for Madison, like they were big big brother, big sister. And
Yeah.
then I had a really close relationship.
And I might
with
not
our
even
friendship.
realize that at the time either. Like,
No.
I probably was just...
No, because you were kind of living through your own stuff, right? And your own anxiety and what you were going through.
Yeah.
But you know what? That was a real turning point. And I didn't really mean to talk so much about that, but I love that. Isn't that good? But it was a real, like, sometimes as a
It's a
parent...
real light that just went off.
Yes.
Like, the breaker just...
And it was a real shining light and a moment for you, because sometimes as a parent, we don't know when to step in, when to back off, what tools are needed. Sometimes, like Madison needed, I always told her Madison needed different tools in her toolbox. So I was always willing to learn more, to do better, to, you know, like, when I talked to this doctor about him coming in and doing the assembly, I thought, this is an amazing idea. Like, wow. And he come up with so many different great ideas for Madison. She had a special card in class.
Like, if it was too much, I could just
If
leave.
she needed a sensory break, then she would hold up this card in class, and that was a pass for her to go and walk in the hallway. Sometimes they would put a backpack on her with heavy books in it, because, you know, that can really ground you and do
I
heavy,
still like
heavy
weighted
lifting.
blankets
Yeah,
even now.
and that's fine. So you find all these things that work, right? And we are getting so off topic.
Yeah.
Let me see what God has brought me through. God has brought me through betrayal, cancer, divorce, and the overwhelming journey of parenting a child with complex needs. Like, so we're not talking about just a few things. Madison, I think, had 9 diagnoses from start to finish, and a book that was this thick when she went to the doctors. But God walked me through seasons where I was weeping in worship, fasting for answers, and holding on to promises, even when everything looked broken.
And they even said that, okay, yeah, she's not going to do nothing. She's going to be basically like everybody else, probably on the street.
Negative, it wasn't positive. But what the enemy meant for evil, God flipped for his glory.
This is kind of random.
Okay.
Nothing to do with this.
Okay, we're all totally off topic here.
No, but someone told me, actually, when you think about it, God is like that big giant, and the devil's like a little itty bitty ant. All you can do is
squash them.
Yeah.
Step on them. Squash them. You're underneath
and
my feet.
Look at a little ant. They're like this big.
You're underneath my feet.
The
devil is underneath my feet.
A little ant this big. If you think of an ant, they're not going to really survive much.
Okay, so we're going to move on here, because what doctors and specialists said, we kind of went through that, talked about that. Is there anything you wanted to add, Maddie?
With man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. Matthew 19:26.
Matthew 19:26. So never forget that when you're feeling discouraged. You know what?
Think of the ant. Stepping on the ant.
Remember stepping on the ant, that, you know what, we serve a big Jesus, and there's nothing that he can't do. So what the doctors say, you know, is, you know, they're giving their professional opinion, and we're not knocking doctors.
That is
you know,
so true.
Dr. Jesus has the final say, right? And that is the exciting thing, that Dr. Jesus has the final say, and when he's in it, we're in it to win it.
Well,
you can always be encouraged, because he makes impossible possibles. Oh my, I met you at the conference, never would have thought of any of this. See you next week. Woo! Thank you, Angela. Yes, you know what? And we all have a story, and that's why it's so important to share your story.
But
share your testimony.
God's all-star team anyway.
We're all part of God's all-star team. That's what Madison likes to
2.
say. Number 2. Okay. So what it looked like behind the scenes, it was our next point. We are getting way off
Behind
topic.
the scenes.
Behind the scenes. We're sharing raw and real moments, sensory shutdowns, school struggles, and tears behind the closed doors. So, you know what? All those things were real. Like I said before, when Madison was in school, she struggled. There was a lot of sensory stuff. And
anything that was loud.
Anything that was loud.
Fire drills. Any of that.
Certain fabrics, her socks, like for the long
tags.
Tags in her clothes. All of these things were just sensory overload. She had to wear noise-canceling headphones. Like, there was all of these things that really affected her day, and you know, the struggles were real in school. It was not easy. It was a full-time job advocating with her, for her to get the right tools, right? Because when Madison had the right tools, obviously her day went a lot better, right? But it was getting the right tools in our toolbox. But that is like any of us in life, right? We all require different tools in our toolbox to be successful, right? So you know what? When God can reveal things to us, what we need, and you know what? You know that, okay, I'm going to put that in my toolbox. I need that. That's an extra layer to my life that I know when I do that, I'm going to do better. I'm going to, you know, I'm going to be a better Christian. I'm going to be a better mom. I'm going to be a better wife. I'm going to be a better sister, whatever it is. Like, those are all things that help us do better, right? So we found out those things with Madison, and we really tried to grab onto the things that we knew worked, right, Maddie?
Yep.
And stuck to, you know, the things that helped you, basically, because there was a lot of tears behind closed doors. There was a lot of crying. There was a lot of meltdowns. There was a lot of calls from the principal's office. You know, when she started school, she found out that if she got in trouble, the reward was she got to go to the principal's office and talk to an adult. So here you are. You know what? Here you're in JK, you know, 4 years old, and Madison's figuring out that all these people don't know how to write their name, they don't know how to read, they don't know how to write, they don't know their numbers and letters.
So I want to talk to someone with some sense in their head.
She was bored, so she's like, if I just act up and get in trouble, then I can go down and sit in that office and talk to an adult. And that is what she wanted. She's always loved to talk to an adult. So guess what?
I have more sense than people in my grade.
So guess what? That's what she was constantly doing, and I was constantly getting called to the school. So I was like, wow, I bet the principal had my cell phone number memorized, I think. So anything else that you want to add?
The Lord has done this and is marvelous in our eyes. Psalm 118:23.
Right, so that was the scripture we had tying into that part. Was there any other points that you wanted to help?
No.
Just that they said that you wouldn't do certain
Well, that was
things.
You're right there.
Okay, so, oh my goodness, I'm so all over the place. We're so
Okay, 3.
So, but you learned the small victories, right? So parents out there, don't get discouraged, because sometimes small
Enjoy
victories.
the little things.
That's right. Little is much when God is in it. So enjoy the little things. Enjoy those small victories. Like I've written down here, brushing teeth, putting on socks, going out in public, praying out loud. That was just like a monster. So like all those things were huge in our household at that time, right? Especially brushing teeth. Oh my goodness. You know, because we tried everything. She didn't want to have anything to do with that. Sensory, that was too much. For years, like just sensory with her hair. Sometimes I had to try to brush her hair when she was sleeping. It was all of these things, and as a parent, God really brings out your creative juices, because when you know a job needs to be done, you know, we had to do it. You know, I can remember when Madison was younger, and you know, mornings were such a struggle to get her on the bus and to, you know, get up early and do all those sensory things, brush her hair, brush her teeth. So she would have her bath at bedtime and put clean clothes on that were comfy, and she would actually fall asleep in those clothes. And yes, I'm going to tell you that as a mother, I did what I had to do. Nobody else knew that. I was doing it for survival and to save my sanity, because I wanted my daughter to show up at school in clean clothes and looking good. And it was just impossible to get it all done in the morning. It's just not happening. Hey, Brother Matt,
and
thanks for joining us.
Why faith was the game changer.
Oh, why faith was the game changer. So we're moving on.
To 3.
We are moving on. Okay, so number 2, what was I most thankful for right now? So I'm thankful for the presence of God that never left me, for Madison's laughter. So when I see Madison laugh, and when she looks me in the eyes, which she hadn't done for years and years and years, and anybody that knows anyone that had autism, that is a huge thing, because
eye contact is very little.
The eye contact is almost non-existent. So when you lock eyes with somebody, especially like as a mother, to lock eyes with my daughter Madison, that was huge. And it was just like God was just showing me her heart, and that was a really blessing. So I'm also thankful for Stephen's study love. Obviously, meeting Stephen has changed our life. For the chance to share my story with others and find healing. I'm thankful for purpose in the pain. Hey, Maddie?
Yeah.
And then I can finally say, I'm not just surviving anymore, I'm thriving.
And why faith was the game changer.
And why faith was the game changer.
Is number 3.
Goodness. Well, number 1, faith was the game changer, because in my world, prayer was not optional. It was essential. So before my feet hit the ground in the morning, come on, Maddie, you gotta look at the camera. before my feet hit the ground in the morning, I was praying. I was praying for Madison. May this be a good morning for her. May she be thriving today.
Because wherever you walk is a battleground anyway.
Wherever you walk is a battleground. So it wasn't optional. It was essential. Through worship declarations, laying hands on her during the meltdowns, that was all part of it. It was all part of it that I needed to survive and to thrive in my day. You know what? God give you the strength in those seasons. And, you know, anyone that is parenting a special needs child, it's a hard and it's a different season that you walk through. And, you know what? People have a hard time understanding those things. What do you know now that you didn't know then? Here I go, Madison? You're not adding much to this, though. You're supposed to be adding points here.
But
I know that wisdom doesn't come like a lightning bolt, right? It comes through obedience, surrender, and the tiniest next steps. You know what I mean? So Pastor Kim always says, you know what?
Sometimes you have to do it with your knees knocking.
You have to do it with your knees knocking, and just through the obedience, what doors that will open. Faith is a game changer. Hey, Denise, thanks for joining us. Look at you popping in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know now that I didn't need to know all the answers to move forward, right? So sometimes we think that we have to have it all figured out. We think we have to have it all together. We think that, you know, we have to have a, you know, in a PDF file and all the steps there. And it's not the case. You know what? If God is for us, who can be against us? Just like the scriptures say. So sometimes we just have to walk forward in faith. And sometimes He's just giving us one little step and one little drip at a time of what we need to know.
And I don't mean for this to sound scary, but it's like having a big giant beside you. And you're like, he's probably like, depending how tall you are, he's taller than you, however much. And it's like, okay, this tower is beside me, so it's not that hard to defeat the ant.
That's right. Oh, you're on about that defeating the ant today, aren't you? So Denise is saying, Madison Berry, that should be a t-shirt. Wherever you walk is a battleground. And Madison, actually, we're
thinking, yeah.
T-shirts. We got some things coming down the pipe, but there's just been so much on with opening up the church and doing different things in our books.
And then
go ahead.
Train up a child in the way they should go. Proverbs 22:6.
That's right. And you know what? We can just do our best as parents to train up your children and to, you know, ground them biblically in the faith and what God has for them. And she is just pushing me on here. But I wanted to finish. Oh, we're just live. Just 1 second. Sorry. Can you go see what he needs, Madison? So, sorry. So I just wanted to stay aligned with the one who holds the plan. And I've learned that through the warfare, sometimes there is ministry through popcorn. So there we go. We got the internet person here. Thank you. Sorry about that, everyone. So, on to the next point. We are gonna, just another interrupted Thursday. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, so faith was the game changer, obviously. Parenting Madison, I needed to have a lot of faith and put feet to my faith, and my faith was tested on a daily basis. Madison missed that walk to the bathroom, so you know what? With autistic kids, adults, you never know what you're going to get. This was a real big thing for her to refocus and do her live at a different location today. So, you know what? She's rolling with it, and I'm really proud of her. So, here we are. Number 4 was what Madison can do now that the doctors didn't expect. So, I just wrote down a few key things. Was public speaking, understanding emotions. So Madison was never one to understand emotions. She couldn't read people. She couldn't tell if somebody was angry, sad, happy, whatever. You know, she just knew what she felt, and she was reactive in the moment to whatever she was feeling. I remember getting a call from kindergarten, and she had, you know, she was doing the rhythm drum in the kindergarten band for the Christmas concert, and she put the drum through the other kid's head, and I was like, oh my goodness gracious, she should know that that's not okay. But in the moment, and with sensory overload and all those things bothering her, that was the reaction that they got. And it's like, she should have known, you know, she's well, Mom, well, they should have known not to bother me. And I'm like, oh, Madison, but that's not acceptable. You can't put drums through kids' heads. right? So, you know what? And humor was another thing. She didn't know when something was funny. She took it literally. You know what I mean? She took something literally. If somebody said something, it was always going to be literal. So teaching her those things, spiritual awareness, doing live videos, prayer life, like those were all things that the doctors, like, you know what, she doesn't have a capacity to understand how that works and what those things are. And you know what, we had lots of times where we were drawing out cards and, you know, going through kind of cheat sheets like, okay, Madison, this is what a normal conversation would be if you met somebody, you know, hi, how are you? You know, how are you feeling today?
Yeah, not,
or, you know,
not the drum
right?
for the kids.
So we would go through that and we would script that and we would role play that. And so that become embedded in Madison's mind.
Because I always was visual though.
Right. She was visual, so she needed to see it. So that was like all my little cheat sheets of cards and writing her books to read and review. So then that become something calming for Madison because then she knew what to expect. And, you know, she knew what to do. Right? So those were all important things that were a piece of the puzzle to help you, that the doctors, you know, said, you know what, she'll never get through this. You know what I mean? And it'll always be hard. We are on point number 4, what Madison can do now that the doctors didn't expect. So,
right.
And what would you tell someone who's standing there where you once stood? So there are people out there that watch us all the time, and we are so happy that we can encourage, and nothing fills my heart with joy as much as sitting here with Madison, knowing the struggles and the pain that we went through growing up, knowing when I look at her starting, you know, from kindergarten in that, you know, little age 4 little girl of what she struggled with, right, to now, it's mind-blowing, and it is a true miraculous thing that God has done in her life. And you know what, if God can do it for Madison, he could do it for anyone out there, right? Sensory overload is a real thing when you're young. She's come a long way. You know what, she has, and it is still a real thing for adults, right? So we just need to know like how we can help people. Or even with Madison, it's sensory is still a thing now, but she's learned what she can do. So we try to set herself up for success, right?
Like sometimes I'll just have my headphones on when I'm walking the dog because I don't do the outside noise. I'm still paying attention.
She's still paying attention, but she knows that she's going to do better. And sensory-wise and with her anxiety, she's going to cope and do better.
And I just zone right out.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? And that's where you learned to make worship, and praise and worship is a thing now that will help Madison with her anxiety. Or when you're doing a task, when she was down, you know, doing her laundry.
Like even just chores that have music.
Yeah, so that, you know, just like all of us, we figure out that, yeah, it's more fun. It helps me be more calm. You know, Jesus really can speak to her through all those things. And she learns that. It's a maturity thing, right? Whereas at 4 years old, I tried some of these things. You know, you just feel like you're banging your head against the wall and nothing's working, basically, right? You are such a gem, Maddie. We love you. Say thank you, Lorna. Okay, so what I would tell somebody who was standing here, this is what I had written down. So don't give up. Do not give up and don't settle. Don't assume your story is over just because it's messy. So what I've found in so many journeys that we've been through, whether it's Madison's journey, whether it's my own cancer journey, is that God meets us in our messy middle, right? And the subtitle of my book was, you know, seeking God for your miracle in your mess. Don't give up because you feel like you're in an impossible situation.
Because
right?
in the middle of message, in the first part, is actually mesh.
That's right. And in the middle of your mess, you can find your miracle, because that's the way God works, right? If everything was a piece of cake and everything was a celebration, well, then why would we need Jesus, right? It's like, no, we need Jesus, and we need to hang on to him, and we need to, you know, give him the praise and the glory for the message that we've been through, and we have the testimony on the other side, right? So the tears you cried today are watering your testimony for tomorrow. Don't forget that. Right? It's not always on the mountaintop. You don't know
what's happening tomorrow.
So wonderful that you all share this with so many. You need this information and need to learn to connect with God. Yes, God is our source, right? And he changes everything. So your tears you cry today are watering your testimony for tomorrow. Don't ever forget that, because you know what? Through the test, you're going to get the testimony. So just keep praising God through it. Just keep looking up. You're not broken. You're being rebuilt. right? It's rebuilt and it looks differently. When God picked me to be Madison's mother, I was not prepared for it. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no tools to equip myself with. But I was like, okay, God, I'm here. Use me. Use me and give me the information and the knowledge that I need to be able to help her. And that's exactly what he did. So it was always flow as we go, right? I was always getting the downloads of what might help her and what to do and where to take her and, new things to try to implement to help her be the young lady that she is sitting here today at. How old, Madison, are you?
22.
22 years old, my baby. And I'm talking about when she was in kindergarten. Oh my goodness gracious me. So you're not broken, you're being rebuilt. And what looks like a setback may be the exact setup God is using to usher in your Boaz, your healing, your next chapter, your miracle, right? Because God sees these things and wants you to have that testimony to share with other people. Oh man, she's got me all over the place. Okay, but Madison, did you have a point 4 to share, or did you already do that one?
No, you already did that one.
Your scripture?
There was one. Wasn't one.
Oh, there wasn't one. We didn't have a scripture. Well, not surprised, because today has been all over the place. Okay, so where are we going now? So, you know what? What miracle are you believing for in your child or your family? You know what? If you want to drop it in the chat, you want to message us, or if you just want to write it in your journal, write things down to pray about, and then you can give God the glory for it afterwards, right? Don't give up on, believing for your miracle. I think in my life with Madison, I'm so happy that I didn't get overwhelmed and give up on her miracle, right? Otherwise we wouldn't be sitting here, right, Maddie? Wakey, wakey, Maddie. Have you ever been told something that wasn't possible only to watch God prove them wrong? Yeah, baby. Drop some fire and hands in the chat, because God is on the move. And even if the doctors can never explain things, right? Even if the doctors can never explain things, even if they say this, that, and the other thing, or we've never seen this before, or this is what it's going to be like, you don't have to believe that report. Only believe the report of the Lord, because God has got great things in store for you,
because some of those things that the world labeled you with, God's taking that eraser on the blackboard.
Yes, and we've lived through that, haven't we, Madison?
Yeah.
Yeah, and God has erased a lot of things in Madison's life that, you know what?
That just didn't need to be there.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Angela. Thank you. So if you're watching this and feel discouraged, maybe someone spoke a limit over your child, your health, your future. We're here to tell you that God has the final word, and Madison is living proof that prayer works and miracles are still in motion. So you know what? The biggest thing I think growing up with Madison is when people would speak those things, I was always there to say, no, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. I will not receive that. I will keep speaking blessings for my daughter.
Because when you take all of that stuff on yourself, whoa.
It's too much, right? It's too much. But you know what? Life and death are in the power of your tongue, and you have to speak blessings. You have to speak blessings over your children. You cannot believe any report that is negative, any report that is limiting them. Keep believing the report of the Lord. Keep saying and declaring all those things. It is so important to keep speaking blessings. If you have to write it down, so that, different times through Madison's life, we would also write things down and post them, because that way I could read them. Sorry, our internet's going funky. I could read them, she could read them, and she could see that and be encouraged, right? And that helped her. So, my goodness, we're closing up. Hey, man, we declare today the miracle is already moving. The breakthrough is already unfolding. And what people doubted, God is going to deliver in Jesus' name. So never forget that God has got a miracle with your name on it. And, of course, what's my song, Madison? Little is much when God is in it. When he's in it, we're in it to win it. And he's got great plans for you. Right, Maddie girl? And I'm sorry about our connection here at the office and our, the bellman knocked out